見事だ。発艦。敵チームが海域を占拠した。いいぞ。
Oh, let's go fly a kite up to the highest height.
味方チームが海域を占拠した。敵に命中。敵チームが海域を占拠した。目標を貫通。
Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. As you might be hearing from the echo, I am recording in our new place. To say that moving was a lot of work is kind of to say that the range on the new Japanese Battlecruisers is not too bad. You'll know at the end of this video what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's a bit of an echo here because the room is still relatively empty. I'm working on building a proper recording sort of studio setup thing. Which will also contain my kids' gaming setup as well, so... Anyway, that's not what we're here for. We are here for World of Warships Blitz, and it's been a long time. Sorry for that, but yeah, the move has just literally taken 100% of my time. We are looking at Japanese Battlecruisers. Apparently, according to the patch notes, if I remember correctly, the line that everyone has been waiting for. I wasn't even aware that was coming, but well, here we are. So what are these ships like? What are we getting? What are we looking at? We get 3 of them. So this is a tier 8 branch. It's not yet in the tech tree, so we won't be able to see it, I think. But let's quickly head over to the Japanese tech tree regardless, so we will see where they will be once they show up. So right now we have the... right now down here we have the Amagi at tier 8, the Izumo at tier 9 and the Yamato at tier 10, one of the oldest branches in the game, has been there since the very beginning. And by the looks of it, there will be a split after the Nagato into 3 new ships. Now, generally, battle cruisers are an interesting addition to the game and often quite a fun favorite. Not so sure how this matches up in the Japanese line because, well, the Japanese line is a bit special at the top tiers. In fact, the Amagi is actually a battle cruiser. The Izumo is just straight up terrible, and the Yamato is a very, very good battleship that, for the longest time, was holding the record for the biggest guns in the game. That is no longer the case, but at least among tech tree ships, I think that is still so. So we'll get 3 new ships here. Let's take a look at what we're getting. We're starting out at tier 8 with the Yumihari. And we're doing a very quick comparison between the two. I'm going to make distinct reviews for all these ships as we go. This is just to give you a bit of an intro and an overview. So the Yumihari and the Amagi. And the first thing that we notice is that the Yumihari has a new ship skill. And this is the high precision spotter plane. So this thing increases main battery gun firing range by 10%. And this reduces dispersion by 10%. So it's sort of a mix between the Italian spotter and the precise aim. So it does a bit of both, really. And it also gets a defensive AA, which is quite interesting for Japanese things. It has absolutely terrible armor because it saw the Amagi and said, "You think you're a battle cruiser? Hold my sake." So armor plating is a nope, pretty much. She is a little bit faster than the Amagi, and she does, however, only hold 8 410mm guns, but she does get a little bit of a faster base reload and a bit better base range on these as well, and they also hit noticeably harder with the armor piercing. So that somewhat makes up for the fact that we're missing a turret here. The AA is pretty much the same, you just get the defensive AA, and the concealment is not great, but marginally better. So one thing you often do with battle cruisers is go for concealment builds, because you have to compensate for the lack of armor and the lack of survivability. 12-kilometer base concealment doesn't particularly lend itself to it, but the range is what probably compensates for that down the road. Moving on to tier 9, we have the Adatara comparing to the Izumo. And to be honest, that's a relatively low bar. So let's see what that looks like. We're getting the same ship skill, and we're getting auto secondaries here as well. We're getting a Def AA2, and again, not as much armor as the Izumo. I said that was a low bar, and yet we have managed to subvert that. She is a bit faster, a bit more maneuverable, but she starts rocking 457mm guns for some obscure reason. Here we go again. These should have been 460s. Well, I'm going to make dedicated reviews of these ships, but yes, these should have been 50 caliber length 460mm for I believe the what was it called? The number 13 project, something like that. The reload is a little bit faster, but we only get 8 of them. However, the range with 14.6 kilometers is pretty good. And again, we have the 10% addition, and they do significantly more base damage as well, with an interesting Citadel multiplier of 275%. Usually, I thought that the 460s and larger get 3. Oh yeah, that's why they're 470. This is weird. We'll have to look at that in a minute. I thought the 460s and larger got 300%, and everything below that got 250. 275 is new. Maybe something changed and I wasn't paying attention. We are still seeing the 140mm secondaries. That is because these battle cruisers are based on plans out of the 8.8 program that was done after the First World War. So a lot of this is still First World War design. We have 100mm auto secondaries, which again on Japanese battleships are completely they're decorative. She has better AA than the Izumo. Now, to be fair, that is not particularly difficult, but with the Def AA2, was it no? Yeah, Def AA2, she can double that. So while she is not an AA ship, that is a decent amount. And the concealment with 11.5 kilometers actually is not terrible for a stealth build. So we're starting to see a little bit more in which direction the line is going. However, one thing we're not seeing, and given that these are effectively key derivatives, where are the torpedoes? I was almost certain there would have been torpedoes on these things, but that does not seem to be the case. So this is a torpedo-less battlecruiser line. And again, there might be method to the madness, but we're getting to that in a minute. First of all, we're going to have to take a look at the Tier 10, at the Bungo, comparing to the mighty Yamato. And the Bungo gets a high precision spotter 2, which gives us, again, 10% range, but a 20% dispersion. Now, 20% dispersion is not an awful lot compared to a precise aiming, but it's not bad. I think the precise aim 1 was 25 or something. We can have a quick look at the Yamato. She gets 35 on the precise aiming 2, but the Yamato does not get the range improvement. On the whole, everything's still the same. A complete absence of armor, relatively low hit points for Tier 10, a bit faster, a bit more maneuverable. And we now get 10 of these weird 457mm guns. And yeah, there you've got the citadel damage per multiplier of 300% on the Yamato. And the Yamato's 460s are actually better than these guns. They have a better base range as well. However, if you fully kit out that thing, and we'll look at that in a minute, you have you have some interesting possibilities. Anyway, secondaries, yep, that's still our first World War vintage 140 mils, but again, this is a Japanese battleship or battlecruiser. Secondaries are not usually something you employ very often, unless you're dealing with destroyers, and the AA is a notch better than on the Yamato, plus we've got the Def AA and a just short of 11km base concealment, makes this a relatively sneaky ship. So, what was I going to show you? Yes, let's take the Bungo, and I've just slapped the historical camo on it, and we are going to get that into the training room, because there's something I need to show you that you need to understand when it comes to Japanese battlecruisers, and that has to do with the range on these things. Now, the concealment, we've gotten that down to, well, just about 10 km-ish, but the main guns with the new spotter plane mechanic might be quite interesting. So here we are in a training room, and our base range is 15.65 kilometers, which is decent. However, if we launch the spotter, there we go, we now have a range, and if I'm zooming in, I get the elevated view, we have a range of 17.2 kilometers. I can fire across half the map in this thing. And that is one of the really big differences here that we're seeing. I think this is, and I haven't checked the premiums, but I think this is the longest range on the tech tree you can get, potentially, unless I missed something somewhere in the Americans, probably with the plotting room, but I think it's still below those 17 kilometers. So if you've got that spotter plane up, you have an incredible range on these ships. And that makes sort of sense in terms of what I said about the missing torpedo loadout, because these ships are not meant to get close to anything, because their armor is dreadful, their hit point pool is low, and they are pure long-range ships. And in retrospect, I think that is actually not such a bad thing, because what we've seen so far with the British battlecruisers and the German battlecruisers were, especially the German battlecruisers, were ships that well, really also like their torpedo DPS to be added. The Brits not so much, but still they can. And the British battlecruisers are excellent at long range as well. But these things, with the spotter plane up, that thing outranges pretty much everything else on the map. So you can engage at ranges that you cannot easily be shot back at. And with the improved maneuverability, it's not cruiser level, but still, for Tier 10, it's not bad. With the improved mobility, you have a pretty decent chance of actually evading incoming return fire. So I think these ships are pure long-range ships. Now, like I said, we're going to be doing dedicated reviews for all of them, because I think they deserve it, and we'll see what the grind is going to be looking like. But I'll show you some Tier 10 gameplay from the Bungo, and we'll see what that looks like. And obviously the playstyle is still very much up in the air, but I'll show you what I've done with it so far. And I had a quick look. Yes, we should have had 300% citadel damage bonus. Seems usually the value you get even with 257 mils. So I am absolutely not certain what's going on here, but it seems that these ships get a slightly reduced citadel damage bonus. Maybe that's due to the increased AP alpha, I don't know. But just something to be aware of. We are facing St. Vincent, Schlieffen, Louisiana, Vermont, Nevsky, Holland and Shimakaze in domination on fault line. But we don't have a hybrid carrier of our own. However, we have a San Martin and a Minotaur. So there's a fair amount of AA going on, and I've got some myself. Like I said earlier, these ships absolutely can't take the damage. So very much long-range ships, even more so than the Japanese battleship line. The Yamato is not actually, at least in my personal opinion, a ship that you would constantly play on long range. You're actually much better off playing her at mid-range towards the end of the game, because she is relatively well armored actually, whereas that's here not the case. Now unfortunately I do seem to have an AFK Shimakaze, which makes the initial opening this much more difficult, because I'm most certainly not planning to rush the cup. I'm getting into a position sort of ready to duck behind the island if I have to. This is a concealment build, so you definitely want to make sure that you're spotted as late as possible and that you have an exit strategy. There is an enemy destroyer in sea that is either the Holland or the Shimakaze. But that means I am oh, the friendly Shima has woken up. I am just getting into position to open fire at anything that the Shima can spot for me. Unfortunately, because of the delay, we've lost almost a minute of potential damage here. But there comes the Vermont. So let's get the spotter plane up. That increases my range, which I don't need at this stage, but it also increases my dispersion, so I can get these shots on target relatively easily. But yeah, the Vermont hurts, and that wasn't even all of his guns. There's the Holland, and there's also a St. Vincent over there. The Shimakaze is just blindly sailing forward, but we have one of our cruisers here, and we've got the Kremlin pushing in as well. Oh, these are probably Holland torpedoes, so he has dropped them at me after all. I thought he was going to go for the Shimakaze, but it seems that these were aimed at me after all, so of course it's a flood, but that's not a big deal. And we are once again unspotted because, no, never mind, Holland has poked out again. Let's get some shots off at the Holland at this range with the armor piercing, so we can actually get some damage in. Because, yeah, you can absolutely do full penetrations. That was a nice 8,000 points of damage against the Holland there. But now we have a low health Vermont, and we have the St. Vincent over there. I'm not sure whether... Yeah, no, Shimakaze is over an A. And so far... Okay, there goes the friendly Shimakaze. He's just sailed straight forward and then has gotten himself killed. But the Vermont is on low hit points, and we're once again unspotted. Plus he's under fire from the Kremlin, so hopefully he finds himself someone else to shoot at. But of course, you know, it's a new ship. Everybody wants to see what happens if you shoot at it, so I'm immediately drawing fire here. So I'll have to turn in using the somewhat superior maneuverability and minimizing the Vermont's impact here. Unfortunately, that means I can only get the forward turrets on target, and that means I need some good penetrations to get the Vermont killed. And then, he survives on a sliver of health. Kremlin, there is a Holland, and you just Damakont. Yeah, and there come the torpedoes. Yeah, Kremlin has not paid attention, but the Damakon was still active, I think, so at least he didn't take he didn't take the permaflood. But yeah, where are our cruisers? We have a San Martin, and no, they're not interested in chasing destroyers. So we are going to deal some more damage to the Holland, but then head over towards the center area, because destroyers is not what we're really supposed to be after. Now you can, and with the armor piercing getting full penetrations on them, you're actually doing a decent amount of damage. But it's more the big targets that you want to fight at range, like that St. Vincent over there. So let's get the Schlieffen is almost down, I think, over there. Might have taken some minor torps, but that's a nice broadsiding St. Vincent. So again, spotter up, not for the range, but for the precision here. And St. Vincent returns fire. Heal in, he shot a bit too short. The fighters over there, let's get these down because they're trying to shoot my spotter plane down. There's the Nevsky. Let's see if we can get a good shot. But our right flank has completely collapsed. Ooh, I don't even know where these torpedoes came from. That must be the Shimakaze coming from that side. Or maybe these were Nevsky torpedoes. But the Minotaur is in an unenviable position of now getting flanked and crossfired. So let's see if we can do something about the St. Vincent over there, because that is one dangerous ship. And many would say currently arguably the best tier 10 battleship. But the Louisiana comes around the corner. And that should spell the end of the... Now he goes for the Yamato. Otherwise that would have spelled the end of the Minotaur. You really don't want to play Minotaur stationary like that. That is not going to work. That is not going to work for you. So I'm going to see if I can draw the fire from the Louisiana. Not playing the Battlecruiser role as I should. Well, maybe I do, because it's more of the free operating sort of flanking role, not the battle line. Louisiana isn't stupid, has seen these Minotaurs coming from a mile away and is not going to run into them. But Louisiana is also not the most well-armored ship of all of them, so we'll get some shots off at that thing. And then there was a Shimakaze over there, so I'm going to slow down here because someone's targeting me and it's not the Louisiana. So yeah, there come the Shimatorps. Sixth sense went off, so to say. Let's see if we can get the Louisiana sorted out. Yep, still took one, that's my last heal, but we've still got some hit points to spare. But now I'm coming under HE spam from the Nevsky. I believe it's the Kremlin, he's all the way up the other end of the map, and we've only got a minute left. And with the absolute lack of armor, even a ship like the Louisiana is going to pose a significant problem to me. But Louisiana has a very big, very juicy flight deck. There comes the Shimakaze. So sail away. We give the secondaries a bit of use, but I'll finish off the Louisiana. We've got 48 seconds left, and we're almost 300 points behind. So that's not going to turn around anymore. Shima should only have one spread of torpedoes, so he's sailing away. I get some hits in with the secondaries. I've got the HE loaded on the mains, but yeah, there's the Shima drop. But Shima goes undetected at this point. And with 27 seconds to spare, we have, and Halland has taken out the Kremlin. That leaves me the last ship alive with nothing else to shoot at, unless Shima pops out again. But that is the Tier 10 Japanese Battlecruiser. Very much an interesting addition. I'm quite, so far, I haven't tested it extensively, but so far from what I've played, it's a somewhat restricted play style because you have to really play, you don't tank, you have to play at long ranges. But as such, I think it's actually a relatively beginner-friendly play style, and we'll have to see how the Tier 8 and Tier 9 are turning out. But this might be an interesting alternative to the traditional Japanese battleship line. And it really leans hard into the Japanese ranged idea, with the 17 kilometer once the spotter is up at the Tier 10, and as such is relatively easy to play as a ship. Is it relatively easy to have an effect on the battle is a different question altogether, because your main targets are going to be battleships. It's a little bit more a style like you have with, say, the Vermont as well, and in that you really want to stay at range, and you do not very well against things like destroyers or maneuvering cruisers at ranges, but I think you can probably get some surprising shots off. So what I'm kind of looking for here is an opportunity to punish broadsides or to create crossfires where they're not expected, because nobody has me on the radar firing from halfway across the map. And with the added precision, hopefully that can do things like relatively severely punish enemy cruisers or take out low health targets and similar things. So I'm quite positive so far about what I've seen, and like I said, I will do more extensive testing on the initial ships. We'll probably start out with the Tier 8 just to see how things are going, but not overly difficult to play and an interesting addition to the whole thing. And with some defensive AA, Definitely a baseline back row sort of ship, but so far pretty workable. And that's it for me today. Thanks everybody. I will slowly be ramping up videos again. Probably, yeah, not too much more than 1 video a week this week. We'll see if we can make 2 next week, but it'll depend how much time I have. I still have to actually, finish moving. And as you can imagine, that takes a long time. So yeah, that's it for me today. Thanks everybody. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.